Our third witness, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, Miss Buwalda. From 91 through the present time, Ann Buwalda has served as Executive Director of Jubilee Campaign USA, focusing on international religious freedom, advocating for the release of prisoners of conscience and resettlement of refugees, combating trafficking for the protection of children, and providing support to victims. In practice since '92, Ms. Buwalda founded the law firm Just Law International in '96, a firm handling all aspects of immigration law, including asylum and refugee cases. Thank you very much, and you can begin your testimony. And we have your full statements, so if you could summarize in 5 minutes, that would be greatly appreciated. And I will keep a clock here. Thank you. You turn your microphone on.
I would like to thank Chairwoman Bass, Ranking Member Smith, and members of the subcommittee for providing the opportunity to address the panel on the crisis of religious and ethnic minority refugees and asylum seekers in Thailand and elsewhere. The U.S. has traditionally been a beacon of hope for the oppressed and persecuted suffering around the world. And even in one of his statements, Ronald Reagan said, quote, "Can we doubt that only a divine providence placed this land, this island of freedom, here as a refuge for all these people in the world who yearn and breathe to be free?" It's a sincere hope that today's hearing will contribute to renewing the calling that the divine providence has placed on this land. Jubilee Campaign seeks to draw the subcommittee's attention to the need to protect and aid religious minority refugees. Under both international refugee law and domestic asylum law, one of the 5 grounds of protection is a well-founded fear of persecution on account of one's religion. At times, religious refugees have been placed behind other types of refugees. Indeed, that was one of the reasons that the International Religious Freedom Act of 1998 was so needed, and it has been a remarkably effective tool since then, and we're very pleased with many of the provisions within it. Those provisions, I think, need to be applied as it relates to refugees and refugee processing. My testimony today seeks to expose the circumstances in Thailand pertaining to a vulnerable refugee populations, those seeking asylum from Pakistan. Verifiable statistics are difficult to obtain, but we currently estimate that there are 3,000 to 4,000 Pakistani Christians in Thailand who fled religious persecution and whose cases are pending. Some of them are approved and awaiting resettlement, but some cases are closed and affording them with no place to go. I'd like to feature in today's testimony the case of a Michael D'Souza, who on account of his denial by the UNHCR in Bangkok, Thailand, of his case, he was forced to stay in their immigration detention facility in deplorable conditions, so much so after 1 year of suffering through that and no hope, he returned to Pakistan. Michael D'Souza was brutalized by the very people he feared would persecute him. His case should not have been denied, and he remains stranded in Karachi, Pakistan. I use his case to demonstrate the fact that cases that are putting forward their claim as believers in a faith should be provided with opportunities to have their cases heard with more reasonableness. We have found with many of the cases within the UNHCR in Bangkok, there are denials because there's an unreasonable standard and burden of proof placed upon them. We have many cases, as do colleagues of ours, that assist with these refugee processing, where it clearly appears to us that the UNHCR in Bangkok has placed a higher burden of proof on Pakistani Christian asylum seekers. This is something which we have attempted to place attention on. We've approached the UNHCR. They're sympathetic, but the conditions in terms of the interviews have not changed, and we wish to see that change take place. We also wish to point out that the conditions in the immigration detention centers within Bangkok and Thailand are absolutely deplorable. We want to mention the Montagnard asylum seekers from Vietnam who are stranded also in Bangkok. There's upwards of 500 of them, and they're in the horrible situation at the IDC detention center where they're actually, mothers are separated from their children and not allowed to even give them breastfeeding. So the conditions there are horrible, and this is a very vulnerable religious minority community of Montagnards that need help there. There are many issues that and reasons for why this is taking place that we have submitted within our written submission for my testimony today, and it's my hope that we can enable the UNHCR in Bangkok to do a better job of paying attention to religious minority asylum seeker cases. And finally, I wish to mention that we desperately need additional numbers for refugee resettlement to the United States. We don't believe that there's sufficient attention placed on this vulnerable population of refugees, and we wish to see that the United States admissions program would accept more of them. Thank you.